Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the In the Pocket podcast. I'm Max Sturm. Xander Cook's along with us today. No Logan Martin. He's coaching today, so he will be off. He'll be back on Thursday or whenever we do the picks video and get that out for you guys. We're gonna go over week 12 in the NFL. Can't believe we're already 12 weeks in, 5 or 6 weeks remaining in the NFL season until playoffs. It's getting down to that point, and I feel like we've said this every week, but the teams that are the contenders really have shown that they are the contenders. Um, the AFC remains wide open. The NFC seems a lot more deadlocked and kind of know who's going to make it out of there. So I think it's only right we start this by talking about the first AFC matchup of the week back on Thursday between the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. And if you're a Texans fan, this game could not have gone better for you. If you're a Bills fan, it was mad, mad ugly.
Mhm.
I know from my point of view as a Bills fan, I hated watching this game, and it comes down to the fact that one, the offensive play calling from Joe Brady was just god awful. Josh Allen didn't look comfortable out there, and you got to give credit to that Texans defense, forcing 8 sacks. Danielle Hunter had 2 sacks, and Will Anderson had 2.5. And then other guys were getting involved in there too, like Tim Settle. Other guys really just making Josh Allen feel uncomfortable that whole game. If you look at the passing stats, Davis Mills only threw for 153, but he threw for 2 touchdowns, and he didn't have to do much because the defense never let Josh Allen really get into the red zone. He didn't score a single touchdown in that game. There was the James Cook 45-yarder to start the game, and then there was the Ray Davis 97-yard kick return. Other than that, the offense had zero success all day because the defense was just so damn good for Houston. This is a weird spot for Buffalo. They're 7-4. They are the seventh seed in the AFC right now, so just on inside the playoffs right now. They got a big game coming up against the Pittsburgh Steelers next week because both those teams are fighting for a spot now at this point. Um, Xander, any thoughts on this game and what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, the Texans defense absolutely dominated the entire night. They sacked Josh Allen 8 times. Yes, 8 times. The most he's ever been sacked in any NFL game in his career. It was just an insane performance by probably the best defense in the NFL. You had Kalen Bullock with 2 interceptions and a forced fumble, and that second interception sealed the game for the Houston Texans. And then you also had Will Anderson Jr. He had 2.5 sacks, which really set the tone for that Houston defense. And then offensively, we saw Davis Mills throw for only 153 yards, but he managed a couple first half touchdowns to build enough of a cushion. Like you mentioned, the Bills got a huge special teams boost with Ray Davis returning that kickoff 97 yards for that touchdown. And then that running game, you Bills have to feed James Cook. And we saw it Thursday night. James Cook, he had what, 116 yards
He had
or
116 yards and a touchdown of 45.
yeah, exactly. I mean, anytime a running back gets over 100 rushing yards, usually teams win. Unless, again, you're struggling in the passing game, which we saw on Thursday night. Despite those positives for the Bills, the offense struggled after the first quarter. Allen had no touchdown passes, throwing those couple interceptions, and then the Texans just made sure his scrambling and pocket movement were heavily limited. And then we saw near the end the Bills convert a 4th and 27 with the hook and lateral to keep hope alive, which was insane. I did not think a hook and lateral would be converted on at any NFL game this season, to be honest. That's not what I had in my bingo card. Um, but on that final drive, Allen was sacked 2 times in a row and then threw that game-sealing pick. So the loss drops Buffalo to 7-4, and it just complicates their path in the AFC East and in the wild card picture in general. I think the Bills have a 22% chance to even take the division now. It's insane. And then Houston, with the win, they improved to 6-5. Now they have momentum, and they show that they can win close, tight games against those strong opponents.
Yeah, and I want to hit back on a few points there. James Cook, every game with the exception of this one that he's rushed for over 100 yards, they have won. So that makes you think one of two things. Either the rest of the offense was just doing horrible, which they were, and the defense sucked. And in the first half, the defense was awful. Everything was being given up. The middle of the field, the rush game, whatever it may be, Buffalo's defense was giving it up. But then in the second half, they turned it around. They got multiple stops and gave Josh Allen several chances to go down the field and either get back within the game or take the lead. And there was one play where they got down to inside the 30-yard line, and instead of kicking the field goal and getting the points in a situation where you would have, but before we get there, actually, they could have kicked the field goal, but they handed off on 4th and 1 to James Cook, who had just ran off the field looking for a substitution because he was tired. So
Mhm.
terrible play calling there, especially with how effective the Buffalo push has been on 4th and 1. If you're going to go for it, use your most successful play. I think they should have just kicked the field goal and taken the points, because had they done that, they wouldn't have needed a touchdown to get back in this game. They could have kicked the field goal and this game would have been tied going and being sent to overtime, unless, of course, Buffalo's defense gives up something. Um, but the play calling was just really bad. The pass game, it was, I mean, receivers weren't getting open all that often for Buffalo. Of course, you had Dalton Kincaid not playing, and Keon Coleman got sat again. But it wasn't even so much the receivers couldn't get open. It was just the pressure from that defensive line is there
Mhm.
within 2 seconds every time. An offensive line that has seen a lot of success for the Buffalo Bills over the last few years was pressured heavily by those two star pass rushers on the outside. And it gave the secondary enough time to get in position if Allen was able to get the ball off. But overall, the Bills are in a tough spot now. You look back to this point in the last several years, and the record is very similar to what they have been over the last few years. Last year they were 9-2 at this point, but before that, the year before, they were 6-6, they were 7-4, they were 6 and whatever. But the difference here is there was no competition in the AFC East, and the AFC as a whole wasn't as good. So now Buffalo finds themselves in the worst position they've been in years, and it's going to be a tough route to the playoffs. They'll have a few tough games coming up, very important games that they'll need to win. All right.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else, or are you ready to move on?
Like you mentioned, that play calling was just really disappointing. When you go up against a top defense, you need to mix tempo, scheme, misdirection, and just the offense in general just looked really stuck out there.
Yeah, and last thing before we go on, the reason that 4th and 27 worked is because that's not something that Joe Brady ever calls. They thought they knew what they were getting on 4th and 27, and then they ran that. You'd love to see that creativity more often. I'm not saying you got to run the trick plays all the time, but be creative in your play calling. Seriously. Anyway, we'll move on uh, to a game on Sunday that was a thriller. Yeah, the Colts and the Chiefs, and it's not the real definition of a thriller that a lot of people think of, but it goes into overtime after the Indianapolis Colts had a 20-9 lead at halftime. Just
Hmm.
a crazy game. Mahomes initially on his first drive throws that interception right inside the 5-yard line, and Indianapolis scores. They have a great first half, and then it just seems like Indianapolis never adjusted in the second half. When you're facing an offensive mastermind like Andy Reid and a defensive mastermind like Steve Spagnuolo, you know they're going to adjust. You know, you've seen it for years and years with Kansas City, how they've been able to climb back into games that they have really struggled in the early portion, in the early half. So how, Xander, do you see that what did you see that the Indianapolis Colts failed to do in that second half to close that game out?
Uh, they honestly, what I saw, it wasn't more on the Indianapolis Colts. It was just more so KC. Their offense struggled early, and credit to the Colts defense. They were pressuring Mahomes, limiting the run game. They were playing tight with the receivers. But in that fourth quarter and overtime in general, the Chiefs just moved the ball really efficiently, and it's something that we saw them do last year, the season before that. Um, Later on in the game, the Colts offense just stalled. They went three and out four straight times. That is something that should not happen against this Kansas City team, because you go three and out four straight times, you're just giving Kansas City a chance to take control of the game, and obviously we saw that happen. Mahomes threw for season high over 350 yards, and then the offense hit major plays, including big ones to Rashee Rice in overtime, and then some to Xavier Worthy, and then ultimately Harrison Butker with that game-winning field goal in overtime. The most critical thing I saw for the Kansas City Chiefs was just limiting the Colts running game. That's been their bread and butter all season long. When Jonathan Taylor clicks, it's pretty much game over from there. And the Chiefs held them in check. Jonathan Taylor was limited to 58 rushing yards on 16 carries in this game.
Yeah, and not only that, the stats are a little bit skewed because one of those runs was 27. So the fact that they held him in check that well, very impressive from the Chiefs. Also a little. I got to watch a lot of these games because I wasn't watching the Bills at 1 o'clock, and I paid particular attention to this one. Once the Colts felt that pressure of the Chiefs potentially making a comeback, they turned away from the run game. They were just passing. And I don't think you could do that with a superstar in the backfield, man. This guy could break off an 80-yarder at any point. I'm not saying you only feed it to Jonathan Taylor because you're right. Kansas City ultimately found a way to stop him and limit him all game. But you gotta be two-dimensional in your offense, and they just weren't in that second half. Um, Daniel Jones played a relatively clean game, but even he was limited in that second half throwing the ball. The Kansas City defense locked up. They took away their top receivers. Warren was a non-factor in that last half. Same thing with Pittman. He and really throughout the game, Pittman had 27 yards the entire game. So just what we expect to see from the Chiefs at this point, and with the coaching and then with their quarterback as well. So they're still in the hunt, man. They could still find a way. This is a big win. They needed it and they got it.
Yeah, it was a huge win. And the fact that they finally won a one-score game just shows that things might be going in a different direction now.
Yeah, a team that won all of their one score games last year and had failed to do so at all this year and up until that point. Let's go on to another one score game between another thriller, honestly. What I thought I never saw coming was the Giants and the Lions. Man, Jameis Winston put on a show in this one. Jameis Winston, he had that first touchdown that was a trick play through the air where he had it thrown back to him and he found Wan'Dale Robinson to kick things off. And that's a hell of a way to kick off a game in Detroit against a team that's known for those types of trick gadget plays. And then he had another touchdown. He threw another one, but then he had another touchdown where he caught it and then stiff armed a dude into the ground and went into the end zone. It was just a classic Jameis Winston game. He had an interception. It's Jameis Winston. Of course, he's going to have an interception. Um, but man, the Giants found a way to gash this Detroit Lions defense early on in this game. But again, you see uh, higher heads prevail with the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell adjusting at halftime and finding a way back into this game. They force overtime, and then David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs kicks or rushes for that huge, I think 70 or 80 yarder touchdown first play of overtime.
Mhm.
And again, it's just what you expect to see out of the Lions, man. You expect them to win these games. Maybe not the way that they did, but they improved to 7-4. But I don't know. Like it wasn't a comfortable game for them, but ultimately they come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, this was the Jahmyr Gibbs game. He had 219 rushing yards and then added 45 through the air. And dude, you feed it. Actually, here's my thoughts on that. I think it's time we start discussing Jahmyr Gibbs a lot more as one of the top NFL running backs. I
Absolutely.
don't I don't really hear his name all that often when people say, "Oh, who's the best running back in the league?" Honestly, to me, he was top 3 entering this season for me. He has that burst of speed that is unlike any other running back other than maybe Saquon Barkley. He could just completely flip the momentum at any given point, and it showed on that 69-yard run first play of overtime, and that pretty much effectively ended the game and gave the Lions that win. So it was just a masterful performance from Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's been a couple times this season that we seen him break off for those kind of performances.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the top running backs in the league, everybody says Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, James Cook, among others, and they don't really talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, and it's because he's splitting the backfield with Montgomery, and Montgomery gets so many of the handoffs inside the 20-yard line that he's the one who's scoring the touchdowns. But Jahmyr Gibbs is a premier back in this league, man. He showed why on Sunday. Xander, this is your squad. A rough game for them. Um, I mean, it was an interesting and an entertaining game, but ultimately the Steelers come up short against the Bears 31-28. I'll let you kick this one off, man.
That was I have so many thoughts. If this game doesn't make NFL fans question how Tomlin is a head coach in the league, I don't know what game is going to convince them because I said it in the picks video when you have a brilliant offensive minded head coach in Chicago and now the Steelers hold on. Anyways, all right. So when you have an offensive minded head coach in Chicago who's brilliant at that, he's going to outcoach Tomlin. It happens time and time and time and time again. What I saw the most was offensively, not one play was over the middle of the field, not a single one. And that's a recipe for disaster in itself as an NFL team. Defensively, they attacked us over the middle and we couldn't cover it for shit. So we got gashed over the middle defensively, didn't have any plays that targeted the middle of the field offensively. Mind you, the Bears were down three linebackers. As a head coach, you hear that news and you go, yeah, we're attacking the middle of the field every fucking play. Nope. It was just a bunch of sideline ding, ding, ding. Here you go. There you go. I I hate him so much. He is the worst coach in the league, bro.
Now, does that fall on mistrust in Mason Rudolph or
He's no, Tomlin's just an idiot. It's happened with Rodgers. It's happened with Big Ben. Tomlin is just a joke.
yeah, I tend to agree with you. I don't think that Mike Tomlin should be a head coach in this league. I think he's past his prime, obviously, and I think he's too old school as far as play calling and scheming things up. And just think that the guys he doesn't have the heart of the guys in that locker room.
He's just too conservative, man. It's time for a change. Honestly, a change was needed 7 years ago. A change was needed after we freaking lost to the Jaguars in the divisional game.
Yeah, I think that they. I wonder if they will fire him after this year, but obviously you have to see how the rest of the season goes because the guy's got winning or non-losing seasons in every single one of his campaigns so far. And I feel like upper management sees that and they're like, all right, that's success. But
And it's not.
it's not. Missing the playoffs or being first round exits every year is not success. Um, so I tend to agree with you. I what I saw from the Steelers is that defensive line was getting to Williams and making him feel uncomfortable, but when they weren't rushing the quarterback, that's when things were left wide open for him to make moves. And then offensively, they were stale, like you said. Why are you not attacking over the middle when you have three linebackers out? That's an easy first down every two plays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's an easy recipe for a win, and they failed to do it. Moving on, next game, we got the Patriots and the Bengals. And this one started out a little bit weird. We had the Bengals go up 10-0 after a Drake May pick six. And then May did his thing. He came back. He brought that team back up into the lead. Joe Burrow or Joe Flacco rather made it interesting at the end. Almost had a or did have a chance to go down the field and potentially win the game, but ultimately Patriots defense prevailed in that one. I didn't watch too much of this game. I was kind of just looking at it, but Joe Flacco threw an ugly pick six in response to Drake Mays. I don't know if you saw that highlight, but as soon as he let go of that ball, I knew what was happening. Marcus Jones had that one covered like a book. He read that one like a book. Um, but Patriots move on to 10-2. They're the number one seed in the AFC now. Just I don't even know what to say. The Patriots were terrible for 5 years, and now they're back.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate
I
it so
hate it.
much. Yeah,
And
in this game, there is a lot of injuries for the Patriots in this game. We saw Will Campbell go down. Thank goodness it's just a MCL sprain. I thought he tore his ACL, dude. It looked horrible. But it's just an MCL sprain. Should be back within a month, which is key for New England while they're gearing up for that playoff run. But yeah, despite those injuries and a less than perfect offensive showing, like their drive stopping short or red zone issues, they found a way to win. So, is this Patriots team built for the long haul, or are they just surviving week to week?
yeah, it's weird because you look at their schedule and who they've played. Let's go back to week one. They lose to the Raiders. They then beat the Dolphins, who are not great. They lose to the Steelers. They beat the Panthers, who are you never know what you're getting with them. They
Hmm.
beat Buffalo, which is a big win. Then they beat the Saints. They beat the one win Titans. They beat the Browns. They beat the Falcons by 1 point. They beat the Buccaneers, good win. They beat the Jets, and then they beat the Bengals by 6. So their schedule has been pretty easy and remains easy the rest of the way, with the exception of the Bills and Ravens games back to back weeks. I I don't want to say that they're fraudulent because they're not, and that just sounds biased of me. Um, but they haven't been tested yet. And when they have, it's always close games, and you expect that for a team that's just breaking out, right? Um,
Hmm.
they will make the playoffs. They'll probably win the AFC East, and they might even get the 1 seed. But when they face a real good opponent, are they going to be able to keep up, especially under the lights of playoff football? Drake May making his first playoff start.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, the whole schedule's been a cakewalk, but they have faced some pretty good teams. I mean, they already beat Buffalo. They beat Tampa. Um, the only other game I'm thinking of is that losing to Pittsburgh game, but that's just once in a blue moon, dude. Like they should not have lost that game. It was just a turnover after turnover for them. Um, but yeah, man, Drake May is just showing a lot of maturity this season. He had early struggles in that Cincy game, like you mentioned, throwing the pick six, but he was pretty composed after. So that just shows a lot of maturity. One thing I'd like to note. Patriots, I believe, had the number one rush defense heading into this matchup, and then Chase Brown all of a sudden explodes for 107 yards. So that's worth noting heading into this next week for New England.
Yeah, and New England next will play the Giants. So the rush game's a little bit hurt over there with Scadaboo not being there. But then they'll take on the Bills again later in New England. And you got to be thinking that Buffalo's coming back with a little something to push off their shoulder. Like they got a chip on their shoulder. They want to come back and win this game. Um, and who knows with those two games, the Patriots and the Ravens, and then facing two more divisional opponents after that. The AFC East race is not over, but this next stretch of their schedule is very, very important that they go out and they win most of these games. I don't think you can afford too many losses. We've seen Allen bring his team back a, a lot in that 6-6 season. After they lost to the Eagles, they won out and uh, came back from 3 games down to Miami and won the division. So this division race is not over. New England looks like they have it in hand, but they got to keep the foot on the gas, and they have some improvements to make. But overall, like you said, Drake May very composed after that interception. Really didn't have a flaw after that. Um, all right, let's move on. Shador Sanders, real quick. Shador Sanders, like I said, gets the win in his first start. First rookie quarterback making his first start for the Browns to ever win a game. And yes, they played the Raiders. And yes, Shador wasn't fantastic, but he showed flashes that we haven't seen from a Browns quarterback in a while. So if you're the Browns, you got to be pretty excited about that. Going on, the Jaguars and Cardinals played it close 27-24. And then you get to the Eagles and the Cowboys. And that was a crazy game because the Eagles go up 21-0 early in that game. And then they give it up. You had was it Saquon that fumbled or was it Hurts that fumbled later in that game? Not the kick return or not the punt return fumble, but there was another fumble that allowed them to get points. And then once it was 21-21, Dallas made the stop, which their defense has been bad all year, but they forced a stop on this Eagles offense that has been, in my opinion, pretty fraudulent, hasn't been very good. And they kick it away, or sorry, the Eagles get a stop and they get the ball back, and then they fumble on the punt return that if you just let it go into the end zone, you go to the 20-yard line. But they take it out and he fumbles and it sets Dallas up inside the red zone and they kick what would ultimately be the game-winning field goal. Just an all-time collapse for the Eagles to lose 20 to have a 21-0 lead and to lose that.
Yeah, it was just really, really pathetic. The Eagles sprinted out of the gate, jumping out to that 21-0 lead in the first half. Hurts hit A.J. Brown for a touchdown and added a couple rushing touchdowns himself, which put the Eagles firmly in control. But the Cowboys mounted a dramatic comeback. You saw Dak Prescott lead the charge over 350 passing yards and a couple touchdowns, including that 24-yard strike to Pickens that set up the game-winning kick. And then Dallas closed the game on a 9-play, 49-yard drive in the final minute and a half. And then obviously Brandon Aubrey is that guy, nailed that 42-yarder as time expired to get that 24-21 victory. Now for the Eagles, despite the explosive start and Hurts solid numbers, the offense stalled in the second half and they couldn't get any momentum shift at all. They had 8 consecutive drives that led to 0 points. Inexcusable. And then for the Cowboys, this one just shows resilience and late game poise. They overcame some mistakes early and they just completely flipped the game around when it mattered. You saw Pickens 9 catches over 140 yards in that touchdown, and I want to die because he should still be a Steeler, and I hate this trade more and more.
That catch in double coverage was insane. That was ridiculous,
When he
dude.
mobs DeGene, like, bro,
Yeah.
Pickens is that guy.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's so damn good, dude. What
just
stands out to me on the stat sheet, bro?
hmm?
I said what stands out to me on the stat sheet? Saquon Barkley only got 10 carries this entire game.
Yeah, and when you're up 21-0, you're thinking, yeah, run the ball in the second half. You already have this huge lead, and you have Saquon Barkley as your running back.
Especially against this defense, dude. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Dude, like Patulo, he's got to go, man. That such an awful, awful, awful offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Just
and
pathetic.
I honestly think Sirianni's a bad head coach too. I think we've talked about that before. I
Hmm.
think he's a bad head coach, man. I think he got carried to a Super Bowl last year by an offense that no one had figured out yet, a 2000 yard rusher and an all-time defense.
I don't know. He's been to a couple Super Bowls, won one. I mean, I can see the argument being made for him being an overrated coach, but I mean, got to put some respect on his name. He's a Super Bowl winning coach.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of him, and Eagles fans have called him out a little bit too. I'm not maybe just they're upset, which I would be after a loss like this.
Look, a couple years ago when they started undefeated and then just completely collapsed in the second half of the season, and then a little bit this year, the two biggest takeaways I have from both these seasons, the offensive coordinator. Both times, like Brian Johnson a couple years ago, terrible, and then you have the offensive coordinator this year, who's even worse.
Yeah, you lose Kellen Moore and the offense just looks so flat.
Hmm.
Um, Speaking of Kellen Moore, his team loses 24-10 to the Falcons. I had the Saints winning that game, but Falcons show why they're the better team. Their defense did a great job rushing the passer in that game, and also stopping the run. And then let's talk about the MVP of the league, man. Let's talk about Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams hosting Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield, who are on a bit of a slump right now. They've lost now 3 straight games over 4 weeks, including that bye week. And they didn't just lose by a little bit, man. They lost 34-7, and the game was over in the first half. The game was so over in the first half. Matthew Stafford didn't play most of that second half. He goes for 273 and three touchdowns, two to Devontae Adams. And then I forget. Oh yeah, Colby Parkinson. Yeah, he
Hmm.
got the other touchdown. And this offense, man, it just looks so good under Matt Stafford. Again, he's 30 touchdowns, two interceptions on the career. Hasn't thrown an interception in what, 8 games? This team, this Rams team, looks better than the Rams team that won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Stafford now has 30 touchdowns to only two interceptions. That is just such an unbelievable stat at 37 years old. I don't know how he keeps getting better and better, but he is. He is freaking dealing this season, man. By far and away, grass is green. He's the MVP right now.
Yeah,
Uh, and then it was just a terrible game all around for Tampa. Yeah, they had like 20 people injured in this game, including Baker Mayfield
Baker.
on that Hail Mary to end the first half. Just freaking tore up his shoulder, dude. Yeah, as soon as he went down, it didn't look good at all. So wait and see the news on what happens there. But
Yeah, that'll be something to watch because their season will be absolutely derailed if he's
yeah,
not.
they're 6-5, tied for first in the division with Carolina, who's playing right now.
Yeah, and let's look at that game real quick. Carolina's down 7-0 right now.
Mm.
Uh, in 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Brock Purdy is one touchdown and three interceptions right now.
What the fuck?
But Bryce Young is 2 of 4 for 9 yards.
And a pick.
Interception. I had the Panthers winning this game, man, and it looks like their defense is doing the job, but they just can't score.
Brock Purdy, what happened?
Oh my
Bro,
God,
two
dude.
interceptions to JC Horn. What the hell?
Yeah. I want to talk about a few players that are not even off the radar, but maybe the records they're chasing are not as talked about because of the teams that they play on. We'll start with the Seahawks, and obviously the Seahawks are a good team, but I feel like they don't get the national media attention that a lot of these other teams do. JSN, I think you and I have had conversations about this. He is the best wide receiver in the league right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, like I mentioned with Stafford about grass is green, he's the MVP. Grass is green, this dude's the best wide receiver in the league right now. He's on track to have 2,029 receiving yards,
Yeah,
shattering the NFL.
shattering Calvin Johnson's record if he continues it. And the guy's just crazy good. Like that first touchdown, the 60 something yard touchdown, fantastic throw. Maybe even
Oh,
better
beautiful.
throw by Sam Darnold. But for him to catch that in stride and take it all the way, impressive. And he now has the single season receiving record for the Seahawks. And he's got a damn good chance with 6 weeks left to be the all-time leader in single season receiving yards. So,
I mean, he already broke the franchise record and he's 11 games in.
yeah, absolutely fucking. And that's with guys like DK and Steve Largent who have played for them too. So, you got to think about that. And then Myles Garrett on track to even more than JSN is to shatter TJ Watt and Michael Strahan's sack record. He is on track for 28 sacks right now in a season. That's fucking insane. He had 3 sacks in this last game and 2 forced fumbles against the Raiders.
So
He's a
I think,
monster, and he's a defensive player of the year. It's already
oh
locked.
yeah, yeah, he locked that shit up a couple weeks ago. 28 sacks is crazy, breaking the sack record by 6 sacks. Oh my God, that's actually insane, dude. I was gonna have, I was gonna say something what's even crazier, but nah, 28 sacks, sh- that's freaking ridiculous. But what I was gonna say was, Myles Garrett leads the league in sacks with 18. If you have Myles Garrett just in the last 5 weeks, he'd be second in the league in sacks.
That's insane, dude. That's fucking crazy.
He has eight. He has 13 sacks in the past 5 games.
Holy shit. So what's his season total right now? What's he
18.
at?
18.
18. And I want to see what the Browns schedule is moving forward because looking at their defensive
I
line
think
or the
either
offensive
he
lines.
breaks it by a mile or he falls like a half sack short.
Yeah. So he's going to go up against the 49ers next week. And who knows? I don't think their offensive
I
line
think
is
he gets a
obviously
couple
they got Trent Williams, but other than that, not a crazy offensive line. Then he's going to go up against the Titans. Dude, he's going to feast.
He genuinely might get
He
seven
might
sacks.
he might break it in that game. Then he faces the Bears, another team that has not a fantastic offensive line. It's much improved from last year, but you still saw TJ Watt wreak havoc back there last week. And then Buffalo, if they do what Houston did to Buffalo, who knows? But they don't have all the star power that they do. They just got that one guy, but that one guy is a menace, and he's got the chance to get back there and get Allen a few times.
Mhm.
Then they'll play the Steelers, which you could speak on that, how you feel their offensive line is.
I don't think Garrett doesn't even play that well against us, actually.
Yeah, they scheme twice a year for him,
True.
so that game could go either way. And then they play the Bengals, which he could feast in that game too. So if he doesn't break it in that Titans game, man, he
He,
might break
he
it.
he honestly might get 30 sacks this season.
It's insane. It's insane. He might actually he
That's some Madden shit, dude.
I think that he is gonna shatter the record, bro. Like I don't know how he doesn't with this schedule coming up, some weak
Dude,
offensive
I
line.
think he gets a couple against San Fran. That brings his total to 20. He he legit might get 7 sacks against the Titans.
Yeah. Which I believe that's the NFL record in a single game too, is
Yeah,
7.
single game right now is 6. Miles might break that against Tennessee.
So he's locked up the defensive player of the year without a doubt. Um, all right. I want to take a look real quick at the NFL playoff picture entering this week, entering week 13. And obviously, this is without the Panthers and the 49ers finishing their game yet. But if you take a look at it, we have got in the AFC, the Patriots lead with a 10-2 record. Following right behind them is the Denver Broncos, then the Indianapolis Colts, and the Baltimore Ravens have the tiebreaker over the Pittsburgh Steelers right now for that 4th seed. Then the 5th seed is the Chargers, followed by the Jaguars, and lastly the Bills. Right on the bubble are the Steelers, the Texans, and the Chiefs. So the AFC is wide open, man. You could see any combination of these teams in the playoffs at the end of the year. So that's going to be fun to watch coming down the end here, especially if you've got Patriots in the number 1 seed and they get the first round bye. The Bills would then take on the Broncos, which would be a rematch of last year's wild card. You'd have the Colts and the Jaguars, and then the Ravens and the Chargers. Herbert versus Lamar would be fun to watch. Then you go over to the NFC side. The Rams are the obvious number 1 seed. They're the best team in the NFC right now. Uh, the Eagles are in second place after that loss. Third.
No, 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 no.
And then the 4th seed is the Buccaneers, still holding that first place um, over the Panthers. 5th seed Seahawks, 6th seed Packers, 7th seed 49ers. And then right on the bubble, outside of the playoffs right now, are the Detroit Lions. Then it's the Panthers, and then the Cowboys round out the 10 seed. So interesting spot we're in. I think the NFC won't change as will probably find themselves in the playoffs unless the 49ers really find a way to keep it going here or the Packers fall out of it. Um, but yeah, just thoughts on the standings right now.
Yeah, Baltimore is winning the North. I got New England winning the East. Uh, Denver is winning the West. I don't see KC coming and taking that crown from them. I don't think the Chargers take the division either.
Yeah.
Colts definitely take the South. And then NFC side, I'd go Rams and then Buccaneers if once they get healthy, I think they get it. Um
You think the Buccaneers will be the 2 seed?
No, no.
Oh,
Just going division winners. Eagles, and then in the NFC North, I'm going Lions. I think Lions take the division. I don't think Chicago keeps up this success that they're having. Although it'd be great to see, and I'd love for them to do it, but I don't think they will.
yeah,
Uh,
it'll be. It's interesting how that could play out. Like you could see the Lions make it in, and then the Bears, who currently sit at the 3 seed, could be out.
yeah, in terms of wild card teams, I'd go Chicago, Seattle, and then this is where it gets tough because now you have San Fran, Carolina, Dallas, or Green Bay. I'm gonna go San Fran for that last wild card spot.
Yeah, I mean they've been doing very well, apart from this game from Brock Purdy that's going on right now. And then how about on the AFC side? So our wild card teams as of right now are the Chargers, Jaguars, Bills, and potential wild cards are Steelers, Texans, Chiefs. Which combination of those three do you see making it in?
I see Bills making it. I see Chargers making it, and I see KC making it.
So you
I
think the Steelers are going to fall out of this?
work.
Yeah.
Honestly, bro, I'm really hoping we have our first losing season.
You think they'd fire Tomlin after that?
If they don't, I'd fire him myself.
And resign your fanship.
No,
Uh,
I just do unspeakable things.
all right. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
bro, gotta be
Well,
kidding me.
the Chiefs have a long road back. They're the 10 seed right now, and we'll have to win some games and probably get some help as well, unless the Steelers really fall out. But they're already out, or unless the Bills, Jaguars, or Chargers really fall out of it. They are only a game and a half behind the Chargers right now. And the Chargers, not exactly sure what their schedule looks like. If you take a look, looks like next week they will be playing the Raiders. So you can assume at home that might be a win for them, but they also did just lose 35-6 to the Jaguars. Um, but yeah, season's starting to wind down, and it's gonna be interesting to see how things play out. Xander, you got anything else before we wrap up here?
Fire Tomlin.
Yeah, fire Mike Tomlin. Uh, and from my side, I say fire Joe Brady and Brandon Beane and probably McDermott too. But we'll see.
McDermott's had to go for a little while now. Like,
Yeah,
if you can't take down Goliath time and time again, it's time to have some discussions.
yeah. It I think Josh Allen might have to get more in the ear of ownership about some of these decisions too, because he just keeps playing it off like I trust my guys, I trust my staff. How much longer are you going to waste your prime or allow them to waste your prime?
Yeah,
That's the way
exactly.
I see it. But
Exactly.
anyway, that is the In the Pocket podcast. We're keeping it short this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to follow us on social media. All the tags are somewhere on the screen here for you guys. And make sure to tune in later this week. We'll go over week 13 predictions, go over our records as far as spread and money line, and we'll talk about where the who we think is going to make it into the playoffs because I want to get Logan's take on that as well.
Oh, for
With
sure.
that being said, thanks for watching and tune in with us at the end of this week, and we'll see you soon.